Ethan's heart races as he kneels in the pew, the weight of his father's sermon pressing down. In a small Georgia town, where faith rules all, he's the preacher's son, bound by duty. But when Caleb, a bold farmhand, locks eyes with him across the church, a spark ignites. A dangerous truth Ethan's buried for years. Each glance pulls him closer to a secret that could shatter his world, or set it free. The Sunday service drags on, voices rising in hymn, but Ethan barely hears them. His father's voice booms from the pulpit, preaching obedience and righteousness, each word a reminder of the life Ethan's supposed to lead. At 25, he's expected to marry soon, take over the church someday, and uphold the family name. But the thought twists his stomach. Since he was 15, he's known he's different, drawn to men, a truth he's hidden behind prayers and silence. In this town, where every whispered rumor spreads like wildfire, being gay isn't just taboo. It's a sin. Caleb's arrival changes everything. He showed up last week, hired to work the Dawson Ranch. Ethan first noticed him unloading hay bales, moving with a quiet confidence that drew curious stares. Now, sitting across the aisle, Caleb's presence feels like a current pulling Ethan under. Their eyes meet again, and Caleb's lips curve into a half-smile, bold and unguarded. Ethan's breath catches. He looks away, heart pounding, but the moment lingers, a dangerous promise. After the service, the congregation spills outside, voices buzzing with small-town gossip. Ethan's father, Pastor Daniel, claps shoulders and shakes hands, his authority unquestioned. Ethan lingers near the church steps, tasked with organizing the upcoming annex project. That's when Caleb approaches, his steps deliberate. "You're Ethan, right?" Caleb's voice is low, steady. "Heard you're leading the build." Ethan nods, his throat tight. "Yeah. Starts next week." "You volunteering?" "Figured I'd pitch in," Caleb says, his gaze steady, searching. Seems like a good cause. There's something in his tone, too knowing, too direct, that sets Ethan on edge. He mumbles agreement and turns away, but Caleb's presence sticks with him. A shadow he can't shake. The next few days blur with routine, chores, prayers, and dodging his father's questions about his future. But Caleb's everywhere. At the general store, he's buying supplies, tossing Ethan a nod. At the community supper, he's across the table, his knee brushing Ethan's under the crowded bench. Each encounter tightens the knot in Ethan's chest, a mix of fear and longing he can't untangle. Monday dawns, and the annex project begins. Ethan oversees volunteers, hammering nails and hauling lumber under the Georgia sun. Caleb joins the crew, his strength evident as he lifts beams with ease. They work side by side, their silence heavy with unspoken words. When Caleb hands Ethan a water canteen, their fingers brush, and Ethan freezes, the touch sparking heat up his arm. Caleb's eyes hold his, unflinching, as if he sees right through Ethan's carefully built walls. "You're quiet today," Caleb says, breaking the silence as they stack boards. "Something on your mind?" Ethan shrugs, avoiding his gaze. "Just focused." Caleb chuckles, soft but pointed. "Focused, huh? Or running from something?" The words hit like a stone. Ethan's pulse spikes, his mind racing. Does Caleb know? The thought terrifies him, but there's no judgment in Caleb's eyes, only curiosity, maybe something more. Before Ethan can respond, his younger brother Noah calls from across the site, waving him over. Ethan seizes the excuse, but Caleb's words echo, stirring a restlessness he's long suppressed. That night, alone in his room, Ethan kneels by his bed, praying for strength to bury his feelings. But Caleb's face flashes in his mind. Those bold eyes, that half-smile. The prayer falters. For the first time, Ethan wonders if hiding is worth the cost. The town, his family, his faith, they all demand he stay in line. But Caleb's presence is a crack in that foundation, and with each passing day, the crack grows wider, threatening to pull Ethan into the unknown. The hammer's rhythm steadies Ethan's nerves as he drives nails into the church annex frame. But Caleb's presence nearby keeps him on edge. It's been a week since their first exchange, and every shared glance fuels a restless pull Ethan can't ignore. The Georgia sun beats down, sweat stinging his eyes, but it's Caleb's quiet watchfulness that makes his pulse race. They work in sync, hauling lumber and aligning beams, their movements a silent dance amid the volunteers' chatter. Caleb breaks the quiet as they lift a heavy plank. "You're good at this," he says, his tone casual but pointed. "Leading, I mean. Everyone listens to you." Ethan shrugs, dodging the compliment. "Just doing my part." His voice is tight, betraying the storm inside. Caleb's too close, too perceptive, and Ethan's terrified of what he might see. As the day winds down, the crew scatters, leaving Ethan and Caleb to stack leftover boards. The air grows still, the hum of cicadas filling the silence. Caleb sets down a plank and turns to Ethan, his gaze direct. "You don't say much, but I can tell something's weighing on you. Want to talk?" Ethan's heart lurches. He wants to brush it off, to retreat. But Caleb's openness disarms him. "It's nothing," he mutters, stacking a board with more force than needed. Caleb steps closer, his voice low. "I know what it's like to hide, Ethan, to feel like you don't fit." He pauses, searching Ethan's face. "I'm gay. Always have been. And I think you're carrying something like that too." The words hit Ethan like a jolt, stealing his breath. His first instinct is to deny it, to run. But Caleb's steady gaze holds him in place. "You don't know me," Ethan whispers, but his voice cracks, betraying him. "I see you," Caleb says softly, "and it's okay." The world narrows to the space between them. Ethan's chest tightens, years of fear and shame colliding with a flicker of relief. Before he can stop himself, he speaks, voice barely audible. "I've known since I was a kid, but here, it's not allowed. My dad, the church, they'd never accept it." Caleb's hand grazes Ethan's arm, a fleeting touch that sends warmth through him. "You don't have to face it alone," he says. Emboldened, Caleb leans in, and Ethan doesn't pull away. Their lips meet, tentative at first, then urgent, a rush of longing breaking free. For a moment, Ethan forgets the world, until footsteps crunch nearby. They spring apart, hearts pounding. An elder Mr. Hargrove appears, eyeing them suspiciously. "Everything all right here?" he asks, his tone sharp. "Yeah, just finishing up," Caleb says smoothly, but Ethan's frozen, panic clawing at him. Hargrove nods and moves on, but the moment shatters Ethan's fleeting courage. He stumbles back, breath ragged. "This can't happen," he mutters. "If anyone finds out..." Caleb's eyes soften, but there's a firmness beneath. "We'll be careful, but you can't keep running from who you are." That night, Ethan lies awake, replaying the kiss, the elder's gaze, Caleb's words. Fear churns in his gut, his father's wrath, the town's judgment, the life he'd lose. But Caleb's touch lingers, a spark that refuses to fade. The secret's out, even if just between them. And Ethan knows there's no going back. Ethan's hands tremble as he hammers nails into the church annex, the rhythm failing to calm him. Days have passed since the kiss with Caleb, and each moment feels like a tightrope walk over a pit of exposure. The Georgia heat presses down, but it's the fear of discovery that chokes him. Caleb works nearby, their glances brief but charged, a secret binding them in the midst of the oblivious crew. Ethan wants to feel the rush of that night again, but dread overshadows desire. The whispers start at Sunday service. Ethan notices heads turning, hushed voices trailing him as he moves through the congregation. His younger brother Noah, 18 and eager to prove himself to their father, Pastor Daniel, avoids Ethan's eyes. Unease gnaws at Ethan's gut. Noah's been distant, his usual chatter replaced by sidelong glances. Ethan tries to brush it off, focusing on his father's sermon about purity and obedience, but the words cut deeper now, each one a reminder of his hidden truth. After the service, Noah corners Ethan behind the church, his face twisted with anger. "I heard you," he hisses. "In the annex with that farmhand. People are talking, Ethan. You're shaming us. Dad, the church, me." His voice cracks, torn between fury and desperation. Ethan's stomach drops. "You don't understand," he starts, but Noah cuts him off. "I understand enough. You're choosing sin over family." Noah's words sting, fueled by the need to win their father's approval. Before Ethan can respond, Noah turns and strides toward the parsonage, his intent clear. Panic surges through Ethan. He knows what's coming. That evening, Pastor Daniel summons Ethan to the church office. The air is heavy with unspoken accusations. "Noah told me," Daniel says, his voice low, controlled, but laced with rage. "He says you've been unnatural with that worker, Caleb. Is it true?" Ethan's throat tightens. He wants to lie, to preserve the fragile life he's known, but the weight of hiding crushes him. "I'm gay, Dad," he says, voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't choose this. It's who I am." Daniel's face hardens. "You're the preacher's son. This isn't just about you. It's about our family, our church. You will renounce this, or you're no son of mine." His words are a blade, slicing through Ethan's hope. The congregation is called, and Daniel delivers a public rebuke, branding Ethan's feelings as sin. Whispers turn to stares, and Ethan feels the town's eyes on him, judging, isolating. Desperate, Ethan seeks Caleb at the Dawson Ranch. "They know," he says, voice shaking. "Noah told them. My dad. Everyone. He hopes Caleb will stand with him. But Caleb's jaw tightens. "This town's not safe for us now," Caleb says, his tone heavy. "I'm leaving, Ethan. I can't stay where I'm not wanted." His words hit like a betrayal, though Ethan sees the fear in his eyes. Caleb's hand lingers on Ethan's arm, a fleeting apology, before he turns away. Left alone, Ethan wanders the empty annex site, the half-built frame a reminder of what he's losing. Noah's betrayal, his father's rejection, and Caleb's departure leave him hollow. The town that once felt like home now feels like a cage, and Ethan's left grappling with a truth he can no longer hide. Ethan stands alone in the unfinished church annex, the Georgia dusk casting long shadows over the skeletal beams. The sting of Noah's betrayal and Caleb's departure burns fresh, each loss a weight pressing him toward collapse. The town's whispers follow him, judgmental glances from neighbors, cold silence from the congregation. His father's ultimatum echoes in his mind. Renounce who he is, or lose everything. Ethan's spent years praying to change, but the prayers go unanswered, leaving only shame and a gnawing sense of failure. He tries to lose himself in work, hauling lumber with mechanical focus, but the annex feels like a monument to his unraveling life. The volunteers avoid him now, their chatter falling silent when he nears. Even Noah, who once trailed him like a shadow, keeps his distance, his face a mask of guilt and defiance. Ethan's world shrinks to solitary moments, each one heavier with the truth he can no longer deny. He's gay, and this town, his home, rejects him for it. At night, Ethan kneels by his bed, pleading for clarity, but doubt creeps in. If his feelings are wrong, why do they feel so real? Caleb's words, "You can't keep running from who you are," haunt him, but Caleb's gone, leaving Ethan to face the fallout alone. The isolation is suffocating, and for the first time he wonders if he can keep living this way, hiding behind a mask that no longer fits. The breaking point comes during a tense supper at home. Pastor Daniel barely speaks, his silence a condemnation sharper than words. Noah fidgets, avoiding Ethan's gaze. Finally, Daniel sets down his fork, his voice cold. "Have you made your choice, Ethan? Will you repent, or will you drag our family's name through the mud?" Ethan's hands shake as he meets his father's eyes. "I can't change who I am," he says, voice steady despite the fear clawing at him. "I've tried, Dad. I've prayed. But this is me." Daniel's chair scrapes as he stands. "Then you're no longer welcome here. Leave by morning." The words land like a blow, final and unyielding. Noah's eyes widen, but he says nothing. His silence, a second betrayal. Ethan stumbles out into the night, the weight of rejection crushing him. He walks to the Dawson Ranch, hoping Caleb might still be there. But the bunkhouse is empty, Caleb's belongings gone. The ache of abandonment cuts deep. Caleb's fear drove him away, leaving Ethan to face this storm alone. He sinks to the ground, the stars above offering no answers. Despair threatens to swallow him, his future a blank void. Then, a memory surfaces. A letter from his cousin Sarah in Atlanta, tucked away in a drawer. She'd written months ago, inviting him to visit, hinting at a world beyond the town's judgment. "You'd like it here," she'd said. "People are free to be themselves." Ethan hadn't responded, too tethered to his life here, but now the letter feels like a lifeline. He retrieves it, the words a faint spark in the darkness. Atlanta is far, unknown, but it's a chance, a place where he might breathe without fear. By dawn, Ethan makes his choice. He packs a small bag, leaving behind the only home he's known. The road ahead is uncertain, but the thought of a place where he can be himself fuels his steps. As he boards a bus, the town fades behind him, its weight lifting with every mile. Ethan doesn't know what awaits, but for the first time, he feels the possibility of freedom. Ethan steps off the bus in Atlanta, the city's hum a sharp contrast to the quiet of his Georgia hometown. The weight of his father's rejection and Caleb's departure lingers, but the air here feels lighter, alive with possibility. At 25, he's starting over, carrying only a small bag and his cousin Sarah's letter. Her words, "You can be yourself here," propel him forward. The journey to self-acceptance is daunting, but for the first time, Ethan feels a flicker of hope. Sarah greets him at her apartment, her warm hug a balm to his raw nerves. She introduces him to a support group for queer individuals, a small gathering where stories of struggle and triumph echo his own. Ethan listens, hesitant at first, but the openness of others, people who've faced rejection yet found strength, chips away at his self-doubt. He shares his story, voice trembling, and the group's quiet support steadies him. Each meeting builds his confidence, teaching him that his identity isn't a sin, but a truth to embrace. Months pass, and Ethan finds work at a community center, helping organize events for youth. The role grounds him, offering purpose where shame once ruled. He rents a small room, his first taste of independence, and begins to explore Atlanta's vibrant queer community. At a pride event, the crowd's energy, laughter, music, unapologetic joy, lifts him. For the first time, he feels like he belongs, not as the preacher's son, but as Ethan, whole and enough. Then, amid the colorful chaos, he spots Caleb. Their eyes meet, and Ethan's heart lurches, old wounds resurfacing. Caleb approaches, his expression a mix of guilt and relief. "I didn't expect to see you here," Caleb says, voice low. "I owe you an apology, Ethan. I ran because I was scared of what that town would do to us." Ethan's first instinct is anger, but the sincerity in Caleb's eyes softens him. "I needed you," Ethan admits, voice steady but raw. "But I get it. Fear makes us do things we regret." Caleb nods, his gaze earnest. "I've regretted leaving every day. You deserved better." They talk, the conversation tentative but honest, rebuilding a fragile bridge. Ethan doesn't rekindle their romance. He's not ready, but he forgives Caleb, choosing peace over resentment. The exchange frees something in him, a weight he hadn't realized he still carried. Back in Atlanta, Ethan thrives, his confidence growing with each step towards self-acceptance. One evening, a letter arrives from Noah, his younger brother. The words are halting, filled with regret. "I was wrong to tell Dad. I see now how much I hurt you. I hope you're okay." Noah hints at wanting to reconnect, a small crack in the family's wall of rejection. Ethan tucks the letter away, not ready to respond, but open to the possibility of healing. As Ethan walks through the city, the skyline glowing under the dusk, he feels a quiet strength. The town that shunned him is a distant memory, its judgment no longer defining him. He's found a community that sees him, a life where he can stand tall. The road ahead isn't without challenges, but Ethan knows he's not alone. He carries a light now, one he hopes will guide others still lost in the shadows. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell. More stories are coming that will move you, inspire you, and challenge the way you see your own journey. Every story matters, and each one brings us closer to who we are meant to become.